Hello everyone, my name is Kay McNally and today I will be sharing with you how to plant your way through the pandemic, pothos propagation. During the most shuttered days of the pandemic, it seemed like everybody found a hobby to stay busy. Some people started baking sourdough, other people started crafting. I chose to grow houseplants. Today I will be showing you how to propagate my favorite plant, the pothos. I will be sharing this information based on research that I've done and my own personal experience. I will be sharing three parts. First, the materials that you need. Second, the pothos propagation process. And thirdly, the planting process. So first, I'll be sharing the materials needed to propagate pothos. You will need scissors, a glass container, a pot, and a potting mix. For the scissors, make sure they're very clean. The glass container, you can use anything that you have available. I've used my kitchen glasses, I've used kombucha bottles and mason jars, so anything available like that. For the pot, you'll need a drainage hole in the bottom and a tray for the water to drain into. And for the potting mix, make sure to get a succulent or a cactus potting mix. A pothos isn't a succulent or a cactus, but it needs to have really great drainage, and that type of soil is best. Finally, and most importantly, you will need a pothos vine or a strand. You can ask a friend who has a pothos to give you one, donate one, or if you're in a lobby or a restaurant that has a pothos, you can just break one off and take it home. I know it might seem scandalous to take leaves, but actually that has been something that's been going on for hundreds of years. In a 2013 article entitled Social Exchange and Vegetative Propagation, An Untold Story of British Potted Plants, Roy, Ellen, and Rekha Komaromi write, whereas seeds are regularly and extensively commoditized, cuttings are rarely sold, but are mainly given as gifts or circulate through tolerated taking and thieving. So you can just join in history and take a pothos wherever you can find one. So far I've spoken about the materials you will need to propagate a pothos, and next I will move on to the propagating process and finish with the planting process. Now we'll talk about the propagation process. Now that you have your vine, you will move on to the cutting section. You'll need to have very clean scissors because surprisingly, a plant can get an infection if you use a dirty knife or dirty scissors. Next, you will cut the vine into sections. According to the 1969 article, Cultural Guidelines for Commercial Production of Interior-scape Syngonium by Chen et al., the most common method used to propagate pothos is to make a 1.5-inch stem cutting with a node and attached leaf. That's from page 1. So what you'll do is you'll lay out your vine flat and you'll cut between the offshoots of the leaves along the stem. The place where the offshoot meets the stem is called the node, and that's where the new roots will grow. If you do not include the node in your cutting, you're not going to be able to grow any roots. After you have your clippings, like you'll see in the picture on the top right, you'll group them together and put them in a glass like you'll see on the bottom right. You then have to wait. Just put them out of sunlight and sit tight. Chen again writes, buds break in 2 to 3 weeks, and rooting occurs in 3 to 4 weeks. So at around the 1 month mark, maybe 6 weeks, you'll be ready to move on to the next part of this process. So far I've spoken about the materials needed to propagate pothos and the propagation process, so now we'll move on to the planting process. And now we'll talk about that planting process. You'll begin by putting soil, that cactus mix we talked about, in the bottom half of the pot, and then bunch the roots together from the nodes that you cut, and you can place those right in the pot. You'll then fill in the surrounding area, the rest of the pot, with the remaining soil. After that, your pot is ready to go, and your pothos from then on will grow on its own with just a little bit of help from water and with the right light. So just keep it in indirect light and give it a sip about every 1 week. In her 2019 book, Living Decor, Maria Coletti writes, I strive to find that sweet spot with my watering where the plants maintain green, upright leaves and the soil holds a moderate amount of moisture at all times. It keeps the plants at their maximum health. So if you just feel the soil and it's a little bit dry, give it some water. If it feels damp, just let it sit a bit longer and your plants will keep that happy green look. So in conclusion, my purpose today has been to inform you about how to propagate your own pothos at home. In showing my audience how to propagate pothos, I discussed the materials that you will need, the propagation process, and the planting process. So to leave you with something else, the Philadelphia Inquirer wrote in 2020, as the pandemic continues, plant retailers have reported a barrage of sales prompted by what they said was consumer desire to care for a living object and create a tranquil indoor sanctuary in uncertain and stressful times. I do hope today that you have learned how you can join all of us who love to plant indoor plants, and you will be able to find solace of your own. Thank you so much.